The episode opens in Elizabeth Thatcher's classroom, where she is trying to help Bo, a student struggling with reading. While Gabe reads fluently, Bo stumbles. Miss Thatcher gently reminds Bo he isn't required to read aloud, but James, another student, argues it's unfair. Miss Thatcher explains Bo has just returned to school after a long absence and that she decides what's fair in her classroom. Soon after, Constable Jack Thornton visits Miss Thatcher at her home, bringing a package from the general store. It's the monograph on congenital word blindness she had been hoping for, a valuable resource to help Bo. The conversation turns awkward when Elizabeth expresses her remorse about Billy Hamilton, the man who deceived her. Jack tries to reassure her, but his clumsy words make Elizabeth feel insulted, thinking Jack sees her as foolish and desperate. She angrily ends the conversation, despite Jack's insistence he only wanted to speak as a friend. Elizabeth confides in Abigail about her frustration with Jack, feeling he enjoys reminding her of her naivety. Abigail astutely suggests Elizabeth might be more prideful than angry. Elizabeth then lavishly praises Abigail's cooking skills, especially her scones, claiming they are better than those of the finest chefs. Abigail humbly says her husband and son enjoyed her cooking, but Elizabeth insists Abigail's talent is undeniable. Miss Thatcher visits Bo Grady's home to speak with his parents about a special test. Bo's father, Carl Grady, is unenthusiastic, believing Bo's future lies in the coal mine. However, Bo's mother had already agreed, so Carl reluctantly consents, though still skeptical. Bo later shows Miss Thatcher the beautiful models he makes, revealing another of his talents. In the evening, Jack finds Abigail at the closed-down old cafe. It used to be a dining spot for miners before Henry Gowen shut it down to focus on the saloon's liquor business. Jack, still troubled by Elizabeth's reaction, uses a fable about a bear saving a deer from a skunk to ask Abigail why the deer would be angry at the bear. Abigail explains that deer's pride might be hurt from foolishly trusting the skunk, and that the bear only rescued, not intending to replace. She advises Jack to approach Elizabeth as a man, not a rescuing constable, because one day a good man will come for her. That night, Jack, out of uniform, meets Elizabeth, awkwardly inviting her to dinner. Elizabeth, still a bit miffed, declines, citing she's busy. As Jack is about to leave, Elizabeth calls him back, saying she needs his help with a student and arranges to meet the next evening, promising to share a bowl of chili. Meanwhile, Abigail has a grand plan, to reopen the cafe. She meets Henry Gowen, presenting her idea to cater to the new miners. Gowen is initially skeptical, but Abigail believes the cafe will attract customers. Gowen finally agrees to a 50-50 profit share, but with a harsh condition: Abigail must give up her home. He gives her a week to decide. The next evening, Jack meets Elizabeth. She explains she needs him as a guinea pig for an intelligence test she plans to use for Bo, as research shows bright students can be slow readers. The test begins with Jack needing to compliment her. He first praises her dedication, then changes his answer to say she looks beautiful, a compliment Elizabeth deems very good. She then asks Jack to take a written test for an hour before dinner, much to his surprise. In another home, Jack helps safely remove a bird's nest from a chimney. The mother expresses her gratitude, sharing her anticipation for her husband Adam's return. After the test, Elizabeth finds Jack, confessing life is too short for petty grievances. She wants Jack to know he can always count on her. Jack thanks her, and Elizabeth replies that if given a second chance, she could do better than chili at the saloon. Miss Thatcher joyfully tells the gratis that Bo scored very high on the intelligence test. She read the questions, and Bo remembered them all. She explains Bo might have dyslexia, and that with the right methods, he can learn to read and become anything he wants. Mrs. Grady is overjoyed, having always believed in her son. Abigail starts her project, working so hard Elizabeth wonders where she's been. Abigail isn't ready to reveal her plans. Late at night, Abigail confides in Elizabeth that she's struggling to find purpose after losing her husband and son. Elizabeth shares her own story of how God opened meaningful doors for her and believes he will guide Abigail too. The next day, Miss Thatcher begins teaching Bo to read using new methods like clapping to sentences, but Bo struggles when word order changes, indicating rote memorization. Mr. Grady enters, displeased, believing the new techniques are ineffective. He doesn't want Bo's hopes head. He issues an ultimatum: if Miss Thatcher can get Bo to read by his birthday, in a week, Bo can continue school, otherwise, Bo goes to the mine. Miss Thatcher worries a week isn't enough. In class, Emily reads fluently while Bo remains silent. That night, Elizabeth, worried about Abigail who came home late and seemed sad, and then didn't come home at all, seeks Jack's help. Jack guesses Abigail's whereabouts and takes Elizabeth to the old cafe. There, Abigail is cleaning. She explains to Elizabeth that her praise for the scones inspired her to reopen the cafe. However, Gowan demanded her home in return. Though heartbroken, Abigail realized she needed a new purpose. She kept it secret, fearing ridicule and the risk involved. Elizabeth wholeheartedly encourages her, recalling Abigail's past strengths and successes. Elizabeth notices the whimsically shaped cookie dough Abigail had, which had gone bad, and an idea sparks. The next morning, as Bo prepares to go to the mine with his father, Elizabeth rushes in with a new discovery. She explains that people with dyslexia often think in three-dimensional images, which is why Bo is good at model making. She presents a C-shaped cookie resembling a cat and explains its sound. Despite Mr. Grady's decision, Elizabeth tries to persuade Bo, but he says it's for the best and thanks her. Abigail accepts Gowan's deal, signing over her home for the right to run the cafe. Gowan mocks her, certain the town won't support a cafe. Abigail begins cleaning and decorating the cafe. One morning, Miles, a town boy, smells Abigail's baking cookies and asks to buy some. Though not officially open, Abigail happily gives Miles the first cookies, making him her first official customer. On Bo's birthday, Elizabeth and Bo's mother meet Mr. Grady. Bo, encouraged, begins to read from a book, using the letter-shaped cookies Elizabeth had prepared. Mr. Grady is astounded and moved. Bo explains he can now see the letters thanks to the cookies. News of Abigail's cafe spreads quickly, attracting a crowd of customers. Elizabeth congratulates Abigail, proud of her friend's success. Jack is also there, teasing about the long queue. Abigail jests that if you want something badly enough, you find a way to get it. Jolene tells Jack she named a baby bird after him and shares that her father, the sole surviving miner from the disaster, is coming home tomorrow. Coal Valley is reviving. Jack remarks that the town is growing and Elizabeth will have no reason to leave. Elizabeth smiles, saying there's another reason for her to stay, and suggests Jack take the same test he graded for her, starting with him for giving all her foolish words and actions. Jack agrees to follow instructions. Elizabeth announces the written part is next, ending the episode with a promising smile.